Remember these games? Yeah, it's been a while since we got a new one. So we all know about the Batman Arkham games, you know, some of the best games ever made. But once Batman Arkham Knight was done with all of its DLC, we were basically left in the dark for a very long time. No news, no trailers, no teasers, no nothing. Before we can document the downfall of this amazing game series, we have to go back to when it all started. So back in August of 2009, Batman Arkham Asylum was released. And since this was the first game in the series, people had no expectations for it. Especially since at this point, superhero games did not have the best reputation. So you can imagine how blown away everyone was when this game finally released. Because back then, there was nothing like it. And I know what I'm about to say is basically a big meme at this point, but it really did make you feel like Batman. Yes, in 2021, that line is basically seen as a joke, but it's true. In 2009, no other game could quite do it like this one. And in 2021, no other game series can do it quite like this one. This game changed everything. There was and still is so much to love about this game. The combat, the stealth, the scarecrow sequences, the story, the boss fights, everything. Everything was just nailed in this game, so it only made sense for them to make a sequel 2 years later. The best way I describe Batman Arkham City is that it's Batman Arkham Asylum, but more and better. It's no surprise why people say this is the best game in the series, because anything you loved about the original game is basically just improved here. Did you like the gadgets in the first game? Congratulations, you have way more to work with now. You liked how this was an open world game? Well, congratulations, we gave you way more space to work with now. You like the side content? Congratulations, we gave you way more side missions to do now. What's that, you want to play the entire game again? Well, guess what, now you have New Game Plus. Oh yeah, and this game's decision to actually kill off the Joker was a bold one to say the least. I think a lot of people can agree that this is when the game series peaked, which nicely moves us into Batman Arkham Origins. The best way to describe this game is that it's fun, but it feels like Arkham City DLC instead of its own game. I would say that's the biggest upside and downside to this game. So yeah, it's a bit of a safe approach, but that also means you know you're gonna like it if you like the other two games. But it's not to say there weren't any good changes made in this game, because instead of just having a bunch of big changes to the series, it just made quite a few small changes. One of the things I really liked about this game was that it actually put more of an emphasis on crime scenes. Oh yeah, let's not forget that Deathstroke boss fight either. That was awesome. I also want to talk about two other things about this game that I don't feel like they get enough recognition for. The first thing was the DLC for this game. More specifically, Cold Heart, because this was some really good DLC, especially for an Arkham game, because instead of just being a brand new map, it gave us a brand new story and also some new game mechanics to work with, most notably the thermal gloves. Along with that, it gave us what I personally believe to be one of the best origin stories for Mr. Freeze, and this DLC alone is probably why I loved Mr. Freeze so much. The last thing I want to talk about when it comes to this game is the multiplayer, because man do not many people talk about that. It's basically just Batman Arkham, but you can play with your friends, and in my opinion, it was awesome. It was not the most fleshed out, especially since this was the first and only time they ever tried this, but I would not be surprised at how much money they would make if they put this in Arkham Knight. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually really upset that they shut down the servers for this mode, because if it wasn't for that, I would be playing the mode right now. Oh yeah, and in my opinion, the story for this game is like really good. Like the best in the entire series type of good. The thing I like the most about this game's story is that it shows us a different version of Batman. A younger version of him who has a shorter temper as well. It's definitely refreshing to see that since we're used to him just being extremely calm most of the time, with that monotone voice to make it sound like he's never worried about anything in life. With this game's Batman, he sounds like he has a little bit more emotion in his voice, especially in the cutscenes. That's something I really wish I got to see more in the Arkham series, was just more of this version of Batman. It also did a pretty good job with putting Bane in the spotlight as well, because despite not being quote the main villain, he was still one of my favorite parts of the game. And that all leads us into the last game in the series, Batman Arkham Knight, which in my opinion is the second best game in the series. Yes, I personally think it's better than both Asylum and Origins, but I do not think it's the best in the series for a few obvious reasons. Number 1, too much Batmobile. Driving the thing around was a lot of fun, but there were just too many tank battles for my liking. Number 2, the DLC. Now don't get me wrong, the DLC is really good, but it's just way too short. Like I'm pretty sure some of these DLC packs you can beat in like 10 minutes because it's only like 3 fights each. Now it's still a lot of fun, but just back then at least it was way too overpriced. And again, although the prices are a lot better now, there's just not much content to work with, at least when we're talking about Arkham episodes. But apart from those two main problems, I still really like like this game. Combat and stealth gameplay are at their very, very best in this game. And in my opinion, the best part about this entire game, the side missions. My god, are they good in this game. Compared to Arkham City and Arkham Origins, they really stepped it up when it came to extra side content. Because honestly, in Arkham City and Arkham Origins, the side missions weren't really that much to work with. They were good, but they were nowhere near as fleshed out. In this game, you can stop Two-Face from robbing a bank, stop someone from making a satanic sacrifice, or drive around in a giant racetrack for Riddler. What I'm trying to say is the side missions are really good. Oh yeah, and they absolutely nailed flying around in Gotham, especially with your grapnel boost. So, 4 solid games. Where does the series go from here? Well, apparently nowhere, because it's been 6 years since Arkham Knight's release and we have not gotten a new game since, and chances are it's going to stay that way. But why is that? Well, I think it could be summed up in just one sentence. Rocksteady was just tired of making Arkham games. Now, Warner Brothers could make another game since they made Origins, but at this point I highly doubt it since we haven't heard any sort of news from them. It's just a sad case of the developers wanting to move on despite what the fans want, because what the fans want is a new Arkham game, but it looks like we're not going to get that. At least not anytime soon, because the latest thing related to Gotham is a Gotham Knights game, and it's not even the same thing. It still looks fun, but I mean, obviously it's not an Arkham game. So when it just comes to the actual Arkham series, fans are still left in the dark, even after 6 years in 2021. Will we ever get a new Arkham game? Probably not. But will fans of this series keep waiting for a new Arkham game? Yes.